So what do when you reach out to deity, when you call out to the gods above, and you're desperate for help, but your pleas are returned with silence? Hi, I'm Kedrick Olson. I'm author of Runes for Transformation and founder of Galdracraft. For the past 30 years, I've been studying Norse mysticism and the runes, so that I can bring forward this ancient wisdom and the techniques of the rune masters to you in the 21st century, so that you can have transformation and magic in your life. So prayers, they're an essential part of many religions, and Norse heathenry, paganism, is absolutely no different. We make a plea to divine external forces to act upon the world on our behalf, to bring about the changes that we may feel are necessary to promote our lives. And oftentimes many people will report that this is a very successful endeavor for them. And for others, when they reach out to the gods, their pleas, their cries, their asking for help, or their wishes simply go unanswered. So what's going on here, and what can you do about it when this happens to you? Before we delve into that, I want to take a step back and talk about something that I call the perception principle. The perception principle, simply stated, is you cannot perceive something unless it is already within you. An example of this is you're walking around the world, your daily life, going through life, and let's say there is some word that is uttered, spoken, written. It's all around you, all the time, but you never hear this word. That's not to say your ears aren't picking it up. In fact, your ears are registering the vibratory frequencies of this word being spoken. Your eyes are receiving the sensory information of that word being written down on a page, but it is not making it into your awareness. It's not being put into your brain, into your mind, in such a way that you are aware of this word until something happens when your attention is caught by this word, and you take a moment to read what this word is, to look up its pronunciation, to understand the definition of this word. And for some of us geeks, we like to go and study the etymology of this word. Then something very interesting happens. We talk about this being in the back of our mind. The reticular activating center of your brain becomes programmed to accept the pattern of that word. It's spoken, it's the way it's written down, and what it means. You now have a pattern in your mind to be able to receive and understand that information. And suddenly, as if it was never spoken before, you're hearing this word spoken all around you. You're seeing it written down in the things that you're reading, and you're maybe amazed, like, why? This word didn't exist until suddenly now I looked at it. Well, it's not true. It was always there, but you needed it within you first. You needed to put the pattern recognition software into your brain in order for you to be able to receive the information of that word being spoken around you. How does that apply to what we're talking about? Well, the same way works when it comes to the sacred. I like to compare the brain with the mind, and I'm going to do a video on this, talking about the different parts of the soul from the Norse perspective as it correlates to the parts of the brain. This means that if you have an awareness of something sacred, if you have an awareness that there is divinity present in the world, in the universe, in the cosmos, in nature, in life itself, if you are aware of that sacredness, it means that sacredness is already within you already before you can even perceive it externally. Now, we tend to project this externally, especially with, say, like the Alga's rune. I picked this up from the Blue Fork, some good folks in California. Now, when we look at the Alga's rune, we may think of this as a protective rune, and we project our understanding of protection onto Alga's rune. Alga's is also a rune that connects us with the divine forces, with the upper realms, with the light elves, with the Aesir, with the Vanir, with these divine beings. You know, you can think of these three branches reaching up into the realms of Ljósafheim to Ausgard and the Vanaheim, and bringing those energies into your being. This is a way of connecting with the divine. I believe I've done a couple of videos on that. But you have to realize, in order for Algiers to be able to work to connect you with the sacred realms, you have to have an understanding of what the sacredness is, which means that sacredness is inside you. That means you're already a sacred being. You already have a divine spark within that you can use to, make your prayers work out. So what do we do about this? Let's bring it back home, what we were talking about. When prayers don't work out, some people think they're just being ignored by the gods, or maybe the gods don't exist. I don't know. Whatever. So they move on. They cast religion aside. They become atheists. They change religions. They do whatever they need to do because they feel that the gods have completely ignored them. Other people make bigger offerings, greater sacrifices. They bloat harder. You need more meat when you're standing around the fire. Raise that horn. Scream, "Hail Odin," louder. Call, "Hail Thor," louder. Drink more mead, right? Make more offerings. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But let's go back to the sacredness within. And if we look to the Havamal, the sayings of the High One by Odin, and we look at the Bhagavad Gita with the words of Vishnu to Arjuna, both of them talk about sacrifices, a very important and special kind of sacrifice. And that is the sacrifice of the self to the self. This means that there is a duality to your being, a duality to everyone's being. There is the mundane, everyday world self, trying to make your way through the world, dealing with a day-to-day struggle, dealing with just unfathomable difficulties sometimes. I want to put that there. And then there's another part of you, a higher being, a higher self. This is what the Norse refer to, själfur mer, the self to the self, right? There is a higher part of your being, a higher self that gets it, that understands, that has a connection to what's really going on and what the purpose of your life is all about, and the things that maybe you really should be doing, and the actions and the people and the situations and the things that are in alignment with who you are at the core of your being. This is the nature of the higher self. And when Vishnu and when Odin tells us to be a sacrifice of the self to the self, what they are meaning is to make your daily life a sacrament of your higher self, to become connected with that higher part of your being, to make everything that you say, everything you do, your actions, your deeds, your words, to become sacred to your higher being, to your higher self. In essence, by making the sacrifice of self to self, your daily life becomes a prayer to your divine being, your own divine nature. And when you open yourself to being in service to your higher self, your daily life is devoted to connecting with your higher self and bringing the wisdom and the will of your higher being into the real world, your life becomes a prayer. You awaken the divine spark within, and you fuel it into a raging fire, and everything that you do becomes a divine action. And then guess what? You no longer need to call on external deities for help. You no longer need to heap sacrifices upon the altar in hopes that some external being rushes to your aid and fixes the world for you. Why? Because you're connected to a higher, wiser, more powerful part of your being, a part of you that knows how your actions in your daily life will make your world a better place. You no longer need to pray to somebody when your life becomes a prayer to your higher being. So focus on that. Think about that. If your prayers go unanswered to external deity, how is it that you can connect with your own higher being to make your life the sacrifice of self to self, so that your very existence becomes a prayer to your own higher being? Think about that. Contemplate that. Hail to you, and I wish you well on your journey. Hey, I just want to pop in here real quick to say thank you for watching this video. If you found it useful, please click the thumbs up and subscribe. I'm going to be making a whole lot more of these videos, so please leave me a comment on the things that you would like to learn more about, especially the stuff concerning runes, Norse mysticism, ascension, spiritual practices, and that kind of stuff. Plus, if you want to dig deeper into Galdar workings, runes, magic, all that kind of stuff, click the link in the description for my website, where you can find music for rituals, the book I've written, and a whole lot more stuff. I've got a lot more coming soon, so sign up for the email so you can stay in the loop on the stuff I'm bringing to you now. Thanks, and hail to you all.